Welcome to Her Remarkable History. Remember, to support our channel, please subscribe. The death of Princess Beatrice. Princess Beatrice was the youngest child of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, and she was fondly known well into her adult years as Baby. She married her husband, Prince Henry of Battenberg, in her late 20s, and she and Henry moved to Osbourne House with her mother, the Queen. It wasn't until after the death of her mother that Beatrice was able to become her own person, sadly a widow, but free to do as she pleased. Beatrice, as a child, grew up a quiet and reserved, and all of her siblings were somewhat older. Leopold, her brother, although similar in age, was quite sickly, so this left Beatrice alone in a sense. But because she was the baby in the family, her parents indulged her, and for this she became quite naughty. You see, Victoria had groomed Beatrice from an early age to be her companion and to be her helper, and Beatrice didn't have a choice. Her mother only allowed her to marry if she stayed on the island, and her husband gave up all of his commitments. Victoria had expectations, and when she died, Beatrice was finally free to be her own person. But after the death of her mother, she then dedicated her life to editing Victoria's journals and the renovation and upkeep of Carisbrooke Castle on the Isle of Wight. Beatrice used Carisbrooke Castle as her summer residence for 25 years, and even into her 70s she would make public appearances, albeit rare, and even when requiring a wheelchair, she attended a viewing of wreaths laid out for George V in 1936. Beatrice was even a published writer, as she translated many diaries, one being the personal diary of her maternal great-grandmother, Augusta, the Duchess of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld. Now Beatrice spent the majority of her life living with her mother up until Victoria died in 1901. Beatrice lived at Osbourne House, and here she lived with her husband, Prince Henry of Battenberg, and their 4 children. After the death of Victoria, Beatrice made Carisbrooke Castle on the Isle of Wight her summer residence, and then her final home was Brantridge Park in West Sussex. This home was owned by Queen Mary's brother, Alexander Cambridge, and his wife, Beatrice's niece, Princess Alice. At the time they were in Canada, where Alexandra was the Governor-General. Now on October 26, 1944, in her sleep, Beatrice died. She was 87 years old. Prime Minister Winston Churchill is recorded as saying the following at the Commons sitting on the 31st of October 1944, that an humble address be presented to His Majesty to express the deep concern of this House at the loss which His Majesty has sustained by the death of Her Royal Highness the Princess Beatrice, and to condole with His Majesty on this melancholy occasion, and to assure His Majesty that this House will ever participate with the most affectionate and dutiful attachment in whatever may concern the feelings and interests of His Majesty. He continues by saying, the death of Her Royal Highness the Princess Beatrice, youngest and last surviving child of Queen Victoria, closes a chapter in the history of the royal house and evokes memories of that famous and placid era of peace and progress which is called the Victorian age. By the public the princess will be chiefly remembered for her close association with Queen Victoria. As a child in married life and as a widow, she was the Queen's constant companion on private and public occasions, and it was to her that the Queen bequeathed the manuscript of her private journal. Moreover, she was confirmed in the public regard by the severe personal loss, first of her husband, Prince Henry of Battenberg, who died in the Second Ashanti War, and then of her son, Prince Maurice, who died of wounds in France in 1914. The princess was interested in many works of beneficence, chiefly perhaps in ex-servicemen, for whom from her own personal sorrow she had a keen natural sympathy. She long held the position of Governor and Captain of the Isle of Wight in which office she succeeded her husband, and she gained the affection in very great measure, and the regard of the whole community in the island, in which she had spent many happy days during her early residence there, at Osbourne, with her mother. The house will no doubt wish to take this opportunity of expressing their deep sympathy with her children, Her Majesty the Queen Dowager Victoria Eugene of Spain, and the Marquess of Carisbrooke. Now, Beatrice was interred into the royal vault after her funeral at Windsor Castle on the 3rd of November 1944. It's interesting to talk about the following point, remembering that actually from 1939 to 1945, World War II was going on. It took almost a year for Beatrice to be moved to her final resting place. The question is why? I believe that this had a lot to do with the fact that even though World War II was over in Europe in the May, there was still a lot of uncertainty, and the whole war wasn't over until the September. So Beatrice had to wait within the vaults of St. George's until it was safe for her to move across the deep blue waters of the Solent. On the 27th of August 1945, 10 months after the death and interment of Princess Beatrice at St. George's Chapel in Windsor, Beatrice was removed from the vault and transferred across the Solent to the Isle of Wight. Here she was taken to St. Mildred's Church in Whippingham, and here, awaiting her arrival, was a joint tomb where her husband had been laid to rest. Beatrice's final wish, to be buried with her husband on the island, was finally fulfilled in a private service at Whippingham, attended only by her son, the Marquess of Carisbrooke, and his wife. Thank you for watching, and to support, please subscribe to Her Remarkable History. Thank you.